Good evening, everybody. You're very, very welcome along once again to the VRA GT Pro Championship. We're here for round number 5 at the Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowmansville in Canada. 3.91 kilometre long circuit. Very, very tricky technical circuit we've got for you for the drivers today. The drivers are currently in the middle of qualifying at the moment. A new format, of course, lone qualifying, 2 flying laps, and your best time, of course, is counted. So your fastest at the moment is our championship leader, Keith Dempsey, followed by Nicky Meredith. Niall Quinn is 3rd, Gareth Razanauskas is 4th, and Colin Bayes is 5th. Of course, don't forget this is the GT Pro Championship, so we also have the GT3 class, and it is, of course, Chris Bayes leading that at the moment, ahead of Marty Moore and Eddie Connolly. So outside the top 5 at the moment, Stephen Joyce, Thomas Series, Sergey and Valentinas, with Brian McManus in 10th, Jonathan McCarthy 11th, Brandon Ians, Tony Stack, Olivier Van Herk, James Dowling, Linus Petkavicius, Jordan Kelly and Stefan Kvistgaard in 18th. A couple of drivers from GTE still yet to set a representative time at the moment, just in the middle of the GT3 class. That's not really where they want to be starting. They want to be starting right up near the sharp end of the grid. But still, Keith Dempsey from Nicky Meredith. Don't think anybody's on course to improve just yet. We still have 4 minutes of lone qualifying left, 2 flying laps, as I said. But it is Keith Dempsey who leads at the moment. Championship leader by nearly 60 points at this rate, ahead of the second place man. So Keith Dempsey on 170 points at the moment. So doing a really, really good job there. Chris Bayes, Marty Moore and Conor Murphy is now 3rd in GT3 class. So not a bad job from him, but still Chris dominating that GT3 class as he did last week. So, as I said, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, probably an interesting name for a track, really, plastered with the sponsors all over, but it is a very, very technical, tricky circuit, reminiscent of Road Atlanta with the undulating ups and downs of the circuit, and turn 1 is a really spectacular corner, a long double left downhill. It's very, very tricky to get right, and it's going to be very interesting to watch on lap 1 who's going to make it through unscathed. So let's go back to the results once again. Keith Dempsey still ahead, and I don't think anybody's looking set to improve. Still Chris Bayes from Marty Moore and Conor Murphy, and we only have 3 minutes of lone qualifying left to go. And still a few times yet to come in. A couple of guys down, Jonas Fervicius, Evan Walsh and Ian Malone, are down in 20th, 21st and 22nd in GTE, and doesn't look like they're going to improve. So that's not the best qualifying from that. They're going to be starting on the last row of the GTE grid, and at the back row of GT3 is Nathan Healy and Damien McMullen. So we have a class of 12 GT3 cars and 22 GTE class. So probably not going to be the same amount of battling across the field, but hopefully we're going to get a competitive GTE race today. So 2 minutes left of lone qualifying, and by the looks of it, everybody has set their times at this rate. We're just counting down until we get to the race. Pleasant 20 degrees Celsius out in this track today, 53% humidity, and no winds at all. Nice and calm for everybody. And so let's get to your results. Let's have a look at see who's lining up where. So there it is, Keith Dempsey from Niall Quinn by just 1/10 of a second. Edgars Razanauskas is 3rd. Well, actually, it should be Niall Quinn 3rd as far as I can see there. Edgars Razanauskas is 4th. Colin Bayes should be 5th. Stephen Joyce from Thomas Series, Sergey Grabman, Valentinas Marcinkovas and Brian McManus. We'll figure it all out once everybody gets gridded up. But it's looking pretty good. Our championship leader is on the top of Nicky Meredith. Very, very good on the front row there, with Niall Quinn just behind him. I mean, 1,000th of a second what was separating those two right there. Keith Dempsey he is a 1/10 of a second clear ahead of Nicky Meredith right there, but still Keith looking untouchable at the top, and he's looking good to extend his championship lead unless Niall Quinn can pull something out of the bag. Of course, Keith came from down the back of the grid nearly last week, 2 weeks ago, with one of the most stunning opening corners that I've seen in a long time, carving his way up 16 positions in 2 corners from what I remember, with all the carnage in front of him, just drove through it. His onboard is fantastic of that, and it shows the skill that he's possessing, and we're almost ready to go for the race. 20 seconds until lone qualifying is done, and then we'll have another 2-minute countdown until we get gridded up for this race, and a rolling start as per usual here. So we will also have the GTE class and the GT3 class starting separately, so that Chris Bays will control when the GT3 cars will go. They'll create a gap to the GTEs just so it doesn't get too crowded up at the top there. So here we go. We're almost ready to go. They're all gridding up now, and we're going to be having a look at this. So there is your actual qualifying order. Keith Dempsey, Nicky Meredith, Niall Quinn, Edgars Razanauskas, Colin Bays, Stephen Joyce, Thomas Series, Sergey Grabin with a good top 10 start, Valentinas Martinkovas, a new driver there in P9, and Brian McManus with a great qualifying for 10th. Jonathan McCarthy, new driver, in 11th. Brandon Neans, Tony Stack, Niall Murray up in 14th. Olivier Van Herk, then James Dowling, Linus Petkavicius is 17th. Jordan Kelly is 18th. Stefan Kvistgaard, also a new driver, in 19th. And Jonas Ferravicius in 20th. So there's your grid. As you can see, just had a read through it there, but that is of course the GTE class. So if you're looking for the GTE class, they will be in yellow text, and if you're looking for the GT3s, they will be in blue text. You should be able to follow it on the overlay. We're getting a lovely shot over the grid right here at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park in Bowersville, Canada. So there is your front row. It is Keith Dempsey on your left as you look at it there, with Nicky Meredith in that green BMW alongside him. Then we have, that should be Razanauskas behind him with the Lithuanian colours on his Porsche, and Niall Quinn with also Colin Bays and Stephen Joyce on the next row. And then you can see the black, purple and white of Sergey Grabin's Porsche, and he'll be alongside Thomas Series. There's your GT3 lineup. Chris Bays from Marty Moore, and then Conor Murphy is third in that one. So we're going to be rolling in about 20 seconds time. Full lap around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Is a very short circuit in comparison to most around here, but there is Keith lining up on the front row. We've got the Porsche safety car out front, and I have to say a great qualifying from Razanauskas, because he had a great qualifying last time as well, but turn one just did not go his way. So we're on board with Keith Dempsey in the BMW M8 GTE, and he'll be rolling off the grid now, and you'll get an idea of how much the elevation changes around this circuit. It is quite something. So round to the right hand side, all downhill, dropping away from you, keeping it tight to the inside barrier. There's your pit exit. It's a very short pit exit, and that might cause some issues with drivers getting a little bit caught up here. So here's Keith in the Castrol liveried BMW M8 with Nicky Meredith with a fantastic qualifying from Nicky, I must say, getting himself sandwiched in between Keith Dempsey and Niall Quinn. And then we have Edgars Razanauskas as well. As I said, great qualifying from him, as per usual. So not a bad job from everybody there. Keith Dempsey leading everybody around to the start. We've just got a sector to go now. So here is your top two. We're looking at Keith, we're looking at Nicky. Let's go down to the GT3 field, see how those guys are getting on. There is your GT3 class pole man. It is Chris Bays in the Mercedes. It's a Mercedes dominated front row there. We have Chris Bays and Marty Moore alongside him. Then Conor Murphy and Eddie Connolly. Adam Dowling, Jean Montero in the lone Audi R8. Ronan Hademan. And then we have a few other drivers down there we'll get to later on. But we're going to come around to the front row once again to see how they're negotiating this track. They've got the long back straight to negotiate now. Prime overtaking opportunity, plenty of slipstream that these guys can use. They go uphill, then back downhill again. As I said, just like a road at Lancia. So Keith leading the field round to the start of round 5 of the iRacing GT Pro Championship. Not long left to go in the championship, and of course we're having the final round of the Assetto Corsa Championship next week as well. We're going to see who's going to wrap up the title there. But Keith's got a resounding lead in the title fight at the moment, and his championship rival Niall Quinn is situated just behind him. So Keith's going to have his mirrors full of Niall Quinn. But do not count out Nicky Meredith. He's showing fantastic pace today, and it'd be nice to see him grab a win. But watch out for Razanauskas, fast starting Lithuanian just behind him. Stephen Joyce and Colin Bays, dark horses as well. Sergey, as I said, always there, ready to pick up pieces. Brian McManus as well. Thomas Series as well, third in the championship. Here we go around to the final corner, and immediately Keith Dempsey is away. We are racing in round 5. Niall Quinn follows him. Nicky Meredith caught napping into turn 1. Niall Quinn follows Keith as they run up the hill. They are nose to tail, the 3 BMWs. Razagnauskas is following through there. Niall already trying to find his way through for the lead of this race. Through turn 2 they come, round the long right-hander, dropping downhill they come, into the right-hander at the top of the hill here. Keith trying to close the door. Niall Quinn's looking already. Nicky Meredith moving to the outside line. Razagnauskas watching, trying to pick his moment. Here comes Niall Quinn versus Keith Dempsey, the battle we all want to see up front. Following in his slipstream, dropping down the hill. Spectacular speed carried by the both of them. Down the hill they come, into the double right-hander at the bottom of the hill, following onto the back straight. Prime opportunity for Niall Quinn to get a slipstream and try and see if he can take the lead of this race. Away they go, down the back straight. Razagnauskas dropping down. Colin Bays is now 4th. Razagnauskas 5th. Stephen Joyce 6th. Brian McManus is 7th. Sergio Grabham 8th. Brad is 9th, and Thomas Series down to 10th. Here comes Niall Quinn in the slipstream behind Keith Dempsey. Through the kink of the right-hander. Now we're going to drop downhill. Prime opportunity for Niall to try and move. He's moving to the outside line, trying to sweep around the outside. Not quite. Keith covers that one. Cut back to the inside now. Nicky Meredith looking up the inside as well. But it is still Keith who leads. And looks like there's a problem for Thomas Series dropping down the order there. But still, after lap 1, it's Keith Dempsey from Niall Quinn from Nicky Meredith. Fantastic job. And you can't even see Niall Quinn's car behind Keith Dempsey's car. So we're in for a great race. Let's keep an eye on how the GT3 get on. They're underway. It's still Chris Bays. Conor Murphy is 2nd. Adam Dowling is 3rd, and Marty Moore has dropped down to 4th place. Looks like everybody's got through unscathed right there. We're going to go back to the battle up front. That's exactly what we want to see. Keith Dempsey versus Niall Quinn, and Niall is all over the back of Keith at this point in the race. We're still very, very early on. What are you, nearly 2 minutes in? Dropping down the hill again. Niall Quinn looking for any opportunity, but still Keith covering that line very, very well. So it looks like there's a problem for Jean Montero. He is in to the pits for his stop. Obviously damaged. Now look in the background. Looks like Colin Bays and Razagnauskas battling it out here. So here comes Razagnauskas in that multicoloured car up behind. Actually, that is Colin Bays versus Nicky Meredith. This is actually Colin Bays going for 3rd place. So Nicky's not had the best start. Colin Bays trying to look up the inside here. Razagnauskas in the Porsche behind. He hasn't had the best of starts, but he's still hanging in there nicely. But still Nicky Meredith 3rd, and Colin Bays fighting for 4th place. Further down, Brian McManus is 7th. Sergey Grabham is in 8th, and dropping down the order there is one of the drivers. But we're going to keep an eye, of course, on Keith and his battle with Niall Quinn. He's managed to gap Niall that lap around. So he's managed, whatever's happened to Niall, he's obviously just dropped away a little bit. But Keith in control of this race at this point. Nicky Meredith is 3rd, Colin Bays still 4th. And there is Brad O'Neill's in 9th place. It's just up behind Sergey. Having a good run is Brad here. And it is those guys versus Sergey and Brian. Valentinas Markenkovas in 10th, and Jonathan McCarthy. So the 2 new guys in VRA just following each other there. There is Jonathan McCarthy in the beautifully army liveried Porsche right there. Great looking car. Olivier Van Herk 12th, Jordan Kelly 13th, Tony Stackton, James Dowling, Pet Kavicius, Thomas Series, Niall Murray, Evan Waters, Stefan Quiscard, all following each other around there. Still Keith from Niall up front. Let's get an onboard of Niall Quinn as he follows Keith Dempsey through the last corner. You can just see the gap, but is just dropping away slightly for Niall Quinn. He was right up behind Keith, but Keith covering the line very, very well. Niall was faster in that time, and again Nicky Meredith was faster that time around. So 12.9 for Nicky Meredith in 3rd place. He's managed to get a small gap over Colin Bays in 4th, but they're all lapping right within a tenth of a second of each other, which is exactly what we want to see. But Niall Quinn trying to find an opportunity to get past. We can just see with this onboard how narrow this circuit is. We're getting a nice slipstream. Dropping down the hill is Niall Quinn, looking for an opportunity to find a gap here, running over the top of the hill. Double right-hander into the back straight here. Problem for Brian McManus. Looks like he's dropped down to the back of the field. We just see him further up the road there. But here Niall Quinn firmly in the slipstream of Keith Dempsey. He's got a decent opportunity here as he drops down the hill. Can he find a gap to stick his car up the inside? He's following. Keith is defending as they come up the hill and coming down to the right-hander. Keith defends the middle of the road, but Niall Quinn has to stay behind. Keith defending that very, very well, but Keith has got his mirrors filled with the number 27 VRS car. of Niall Quinn. Keith Dempsey still in the lead after 5 minutes gone in this race. Nicky Meredith is slowly catching back up as well. Edgaras Razanauskas is now 4th. He's managed to gain on Colin Bays and Stephen Joyce. So he's going to be looking to get that gap up. But Nicky Meredith right back in this now with these two fighting each other. He was nearly half a second quicker than our race leader that time. So Nicky Meredith is not out of the fight just yet. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets himself involved in this fight. Now back to GT3. This is the battle for the lead. And what has happened to Chris Bays? He's dropped down the field. Connor Murphy leads in GT3 from Adam Dowling. Marty Moore is 3rd and Chris Bays has had a problem. He's dropped to 4th. Looks like damage on the front of that Mercedes. And Ronan Hayden is 4th. A new leader in GT3, Connor Murphy from Adam Dowling and Marty Moore. So there's battles happening all throughout the field. Let's go back into the battle here. Looks like there's a problem for Razanauskas because he's off the road there and everybody's now bunching back up as they try to fight for a position here. We've got 5 cars battling for 5th here. Stephen Joyce, Brian McManus, Sergey Graven, Brad O'Neans, Valentinas Markenkovas, Jonathan McCarthy and Olivier Van Herk are all battling for that 5th place. And here comes Brian McManus trying to look up the inside of Stephen Joyce. Not going to quite find the room there. And here comes Stephen Joyce up the inside of one of the lapped cars. That's Jean Montero in the Audi R8. Stephen Joyce ahead of Brian McManus still. Back to the front. Niall Quinn still firmly latched onto the back of Keith Dempsey. Look at the gap. There's a couple of thousandths of a second separating them on lap time. That lap around. Quick math, it looks like about 6 or 7 thousandths of a second. So virtually absolutely identical to that lap. Nicky Meredith dropping back a little bit now. But we're going to go back to that battle for 5th because that is hectic. Brian McManus in a good position here, trying to fight for 5th place against Stephen Joyce. And in the background, Brad O'Neans versus Sergey Graben. Interesting battle here. Sergey trying to fend off Brad. Brad looking up the inside now, trying to find a gap. Jonathan McCarthy versus also trying to look up the inside of Brad O'Neans as well. He's gained a position on Markenkovas, but now Sergey's got a train forming behind him. He's got Brad, he's got Jonathan, and he's got Valentinas. Brad looking very racy behind Sergey right there. Going to try and get the slipstream as they run down the back straight for the next time. And up front, gap is half a second, not much between them, but in the slipstream, also Brian McManus on Stephen Joyce. Can he find a gap? But it's so tricky to overtake around Canadian Tire Motorsport Park here. Brian's got to try something very audacious. He's looking to the outside line. Stephen's defending the middle of the road there, so I'm not sure if Brian's going to find the room. They're going to try and get the switchback underneath him, but Stephen defends that in the background. Brad, has he gone around the outside of Sergey? He has, so Brad O'Neans into 7th place ahead of Sergey. And now Jonathan McCarthy also trying to make himself known. Valentinas Markenkov is also getting himself involved there. Olivier Van Herk's right there too, as is Edgaras Razanauskas, who hasn't had the best of times. He's dropped down to 12th place now. But Brian McManus and Stephen Joyce still fighting it out ahead. But it's now Brad O'Neans in 7th. We're going to go back to Brian McManus versus Stephen Joyce. So we're going to just quickly jump on board with the Ferrari as he chases after the BMW, and you'll get an idea of the speeds around this circuit. Such a high speed track, and trying to control these beasts of cars around here is extremely difficult. Up the hill they come, going to unsettle the car, get it back to the right hand side, hop the curb a little bit. Now trying to get in the slipstream is Brian. He's got a decent gap. He might be able to maybe launch something here, getting in the slipstream, but that BMW is very, very quick down in the straight. You can see he's closing up as they run down to the bottom of the hill. Is he going to be able to make anything work? You can see up front the gap is a 10th of a second. We're going to quickly jump back to the lead battle actually, because that's got pretty tasty as well. Niall Quinn not quite able to make that work. Jumping back to Brian, who hasn't also been able to make that move work just yet. So it is extremely tricky to make any moves around this circuit because of how tight it is. But you can see Niall Quinn, he's lapping nearly 0.3 of a second quicker than Keith Dempsey. So this is the battle we're going to go back to and to keep an eye on. Can Niall Quinn take away this race win from Keith Dempsey? We've seen this so many times before. Niall just follows, but he's also going to be looking after those tyres, and that is where he's won the races in the past, in the pit stops. So do not be surprised if he manages to jump Keith in the pit stop, unless Keith manages to get his pit stops sorted. They've been the bane of his racing so far in this series, but Niall closing right up to Keith in the braking zone right there. Now going to be trying to get the slipstream. He's closer than he has been over the last couple of laps, so now on the back straight, has Keith got the drive he needs to keep himself ahead of Niall Quinn? He's going to be defending that line. Niall trying to look for a gap, but is there a gap? Doesn't look like there's going to be one as they come to the end of the straight, but he's tucked right up underneath that BMW's rear wing, moving to the outside line. But Keith's going to do what he has before and hold the middle of the road, and nothing that he can do about that one. So Keith holds on once again as they run through the last corner. We're 10 minutes into this 45-minute race, don't forget. Still plenty of time left for these guys to sort themselves out. Now they've got a GT3 in the way. That's going to play into, of course, Nicky Meredith's hands, because this will close them right up. And again, Keith's going to get held up behind that GT3. Is that going to help Niall Quinn? Niall's going to get it right up underneath him, but again, there's not quite the gap. Keith is wise to it. Holds him behind for now. And again, Nicky Meredith gets caught behind the GT3. Was there contact there? I think there was. And Nicky Meredith has dropped to nearly 3 seconds behind as a result. I think there was contact. That GT3 looks like it's off the road there. It looks like it was Niall Murray, actually. Let's go back to Niall. Was there a problem for him? It doesn't look like so. But he's carried on. But now we're back to the lead battle. Keith versus Niall Quinn onto the back straight. The number 9 car leads the race. He's led every lap so far, but he's been under severe pressure from Niall Quinn. Just an update on the GT3 class. Still Conor Murphy who leads in GT3. Chris Bayes is now back up to second, and Ronan Haderman is third. There's a great fight for the lead in GT3. The top 5 still within about 2 seconds of each other. We'll keep an eye on that as it goes on, but still Niall Quinn glued to the back of that BMW as they run up through the last corner once again. Great drive from Niall Quinn that time, looking up the inside towards turn 1, but again, not quite enough drive to keep himself there. You can see lapping within hundredths of a second of each other. Coming up to lap 1 of the GT3s they are as well. Just no gap for Niall Quinn to stick his nose in, just to let him know he's there. It's so tricky to make moves around this track, as you're seeing. And you can just see, we're just going to go back to Sergey. Has he lost a position? He's lost. So Jonathan McCarthy up to 7th place on his debut. Great drive from him so far, and still carving his way up through the field. And just to update you, Brian McManus has made the move on Stephen Joyce. He's now into 5th place, and he's now just behind Colin Bayes by about 3 seconds. Gap in front's gone up to half a second. But we're going to go back to the battle for GT3. This is the battle for the lead. Chris Bayes right up underneath Conor Murphy here as they run up towards turn 1. Ronan Haderman right in that fight as well. Obviously on for a podium last time out, but just had a problem on the last lap, which forced him to not be able to finish this race. You just saw Chris looking. He's looking really racy. He took the race win last time. Looks to the outside. Now going to try and get the switch back underneath, but Conor Murphy covers that well. So running up to the next corner then, Chris Bayes to the outside line. Can he outbrake that other Mercedes? Not quite. Now going to try and get a switch back underneath him, but great drive out from Conor that time. Keep himself ahead, but Chris as well got good drive that time. They're alongside now as they run up towards the bottom of the hill, over the top of the hill again. Ronan Haderman's right in there too. Don't count him out just yet. Bottom of the hill now, through the double right-hander, onto the back straight. Ronan's looking up the inside there as they try to get through. This is a great fight in GT3 for the lead, but now Chris has got a great slipstream. He's going to be able to, I assume, to overtake Conor Murphy for the lead of the GT3 class that he held for a while earlier on. Here comes Chris Bayes on Conor Murphy. He's alongside as they run down the bottom of the hill. It'll be the outside line for the next corner, so he's going to be able to hold it around the outside. It's going to be very tricky. Chris Bayes tries to hang it around the outside of the double right-hander. Can he make that one stick around the outside? Chris Bayes takes the lead in GT3 with a fabulous move around the outside to take the lead in GT3, and he's back into where he started. Conor Murphy second, and now Ronan Haderman also right in that fight as well, along with Adam Dowling, who hasn't quite dropped away just yet. Just saw Conor looking up the inside of Chris Bayes through turn 1, but it looks like Chris has got the pace to hold on for now, and it's Chris Bayes from Conor Murphy, Ronan Haderman, Adam Dowling and Marty Moore still right in that fight as well. It's a great fight in GT3 we're going to be keeping our eyes on. Up front, Niall Quinn looking up the inside of Keith Dempsey for the lead of the turn 1. Keith Dempsey hangs it around the outside for now. Is he going to be able to hold on to that one? Yes, he is. Keith Dempsey still in the lead. So obviously that GT3 car hindered his exit of the last corner, but he's still been able to hold on. So great racing up front. This is the 2 championship rivals going at it here in Canadian Motorsport Park. Great stuff so far, but again, Niall Quinn just not able to find his way through. Keith, even though he had poor driving, was able to hang around the outside of turn 1. So great job from him, but Niall now, he can sniff an opportunity, but he's not able to find a gap, which is so crucial around here. He's more GT3 cars coming in their way very shortly. So Keith got to negotiate them as fast as he can, because as you just saw, he was able to jump on the opportunity, just stick his nose up the inside just to put Keith off. Now he's going to get the slipstream of that GT3 car ahead, and he's got to be able to negotiate this pretty quickly. Dropping down the bottom of the hill, flashes his light, letting him know he's there. Great job from that driver right there to get themselves out of the way. One of the Mercedes cars getting out of the way there, but again, it didn't lose him too much time. Now, other GT3s getting out of the way, so they got out of their way very nicely there. What has happened to Nicky Meredith? Oh, Nicky Meredith's dropped off the road. He spun it at the last corner, and Colin Bays takes third in GTE. So it's gone from bad to worse for Nicky, unfortunately. Front damage on that BMW. He was doing really, really well in the early stages, but he's dropping back now. He's now fourth, and Brian McMahon is maybe able to sniff a chance at fifth. And now Jonathan McCarthy, we were talking about him earlier, there he is in seventh, right on the back of Stephen Joyce. So this guy, really, really fast, as you can see. A bit wide from Brian that time as they drop down the hill. Now can he find a gap here? Up the inside goes Stephen Joyce, but Brian holds it on around the outside. Jonathan's going to be looking for any gap. There goes Stephen Joyce up the inside. Now they're side by side as they run down the back of the circuit here. Looking for the side draft of Stephen Joyce, dropping downhill now. It's going to be tricky to hang it around the outside there, so he's going to have to drop behind for now. And down at the bottom of the hill, double right-hander onto the back straight now. Still nowhere through for Stephen Joyce, but Jonathan McCarthy is right there with them. So going to be looking for that crucial slipstream up ahead as well. Nicky Meredith trying to retake third place away from Colin Bays. He's on the inside line, and he should be able to get that. He'll have the inside line for the next corner. Nicky Meredith on the brakes, up the inside, takes third back from Colin Bays. But he's going to have a GT3 car right on his way as they exit the corner, so is that going to hinder him on the exit? Can Colin maybe jump on this opportunity? Nicky looks for the inside line. Can he make his way through there? Yes, he can, and he holds on to third for now. But back to Jonathan, who's managed to get past Stephen Joyce. We just missed the move, but he's through to sixth place. Great drive from Jonathan McCarthy, and now he's going to be trying to close the back of Brian McMahon. Off the road goes Stephen Joyce in the back, and manages to keep the car in a straight line, and they carry on for now 16 and a half minutes into this 45-minute long race. And Olivier Van Herk is into the pit lane for his stop. Up front, the gap has opened out a little bit to just over half a second, and Nicky Meredith is now 8.5 seconds behind these guys. And now Niall potentially just dropping back a little bit just to get some temperature, cool his car off. He's running so close to the back of Keith's car for the past 20 minutes of this race that he's barely been able to conserve his tyres, or even think about conserving his tyres. So back to GT3 momentarily, just to keep an eye on everything that's going on there. Chris Bays has opened out the gap. Colin Murphy is still second, but Ronan Hademan also still third, Adam Dowling fourth, and Marty Moore fifth. So that gap has opened out for those guys. Midfield pack, Evan Walsh in the middle of the pack. He's been coming through. There he is, trying to make the move on James Dowling, actually. Coming around the outside of this next part of the circuit. Can he hold it around the outside? Of course, Evan Walsh around the outside. Can he make it work around the outside of James Dowling? Trying to hang around the outside, same as he did up the front, and a nice move from Evan Walsh to take 14th place, of course, in that brand new VRA CJJ Motorsports livery, gorgeous livery made by Evan, of course, the master of the thumbnails and liveries. So well done, Evan. So back up to the front, let's have a look. Thomas Series is into the pits as well, as you can see there. Our third place man in the championship not having a good race today, so can anybody else maybe jump on that opportunity to take third in the championship? Colin Bays, how's he getting on? Still sticking with Nicky Meredith there. Jonathan McCarthy is now in fifth place, so there he is, and he's not far off. I would not count Jonathan McCarthy out of a podium place. There is the third place man of Nicky Meredith, and up just behind them is that black and red Porsche, Jonathan McCarthy. Stephen Joyce following behind him, Brian McManus, Sergey Graven, Brandon Hayes, and Tony Stack in 10th place. Back up to the front, because Niall Quinn is not letting go. He's just now decided he wants to go for another attack on Keith. So you can just see 300ths of a second in lap time between them that time around. But now they've got an Audi R8, that is Jean Montero, or Damien, it's either Jean Montero or Damien McMullen, but they're going to get themselves well out of the way. And a nice job to keep themselves well out of the way there. Flashing his lights is Keith in, thank you. So gap opens up to 0.4 of a second now, and really obviously keep an eye on how Jonathan McCarthy's getting on in his chase of Colin Bays. Just had Jordan Kelly into the pit lane there for his stop. Onto the back straight they go once again, our two leaders, as they were for the entire race so far. That gap has not opened out past half a second, and we've seen it plenty of times in VRA. Dempsey versus Quinn. It's a battle we always love to see. So the slipstream once again. Niall Quinn, is he going to be able to find a gap this time around? No, I think he's going to have to catch Keith by surprise somewhere. Through the double right-hander at the bottom of the circuit, through the last corner once again. Almost 20 minutes gone now. It's still Keith Dempsey from Niall Quinn, from Nicky Meredith, Colin Bays, Jonathan McCarthy, Stephen Joyce, Brian McManus, Sergio Graben, Brandon Neens, Tony Stack, Petr Kavicius, James Dowling, Evan Wallet, Stefan Quisgaard, Edgaras Razanauskas, Thomas Series, Valentinas, Mark Henkovas, Olivier Van Herk and Jordan Kelly are the GTEs. In GT3, it is Chris Bays from Conor Murphy, Ronan Hayden, Adam Dowling, Martin Moore, then Nathan Healy, Stefanos Jensen, Eddie Connolly, Jonas Ferravicius, John Montero, Damien Mullen, Liam Boland and Niall Murray are still running. So 32 cars still running in this field, and just one retirement, I believe, in Rob O'Neill, so he's not running around at the moment. So the gap up front out to 6/10 of a second. And so how's Jonathan getting on? He's broken away from Stephen Joyce and Brian McManus, who are embroiled in a fight of their own. And it is now going to be, that is Nicky Meredith off the road again. He's lost third to Colin Bays again, and here comes Jonathan McCarthy to take fourth away from him if he can. He's going to get a great drive. Of course, Nicky Meredith was just on the grass, so he's not going to have the best of drives. To the outside goes Jonathan McCarthy. 3 wide moment in the back between Brad, Sergey and one of the GT3s, I think that was. It's Jonathan McCarthy. Can he make this move work around the outside for 4th place in this race? Through he goes, and he's into 4th. So now can he chase a potential podium for the debutant? Up 7 places from where he started, so he's having a great run, is McCarthy here. We're going to check what was going on in the background between Brad, Sergey, and if that was Tony Stack as well. So a 3 wide moment between those guys, but Brad's come out on top in that one ahead of Sergey. And how are the GT3s getting on? Chris Bays, he's now well out, good gap ahead of Conor Murphy, and Ronan Haydeman going for 2nd, trying to come around the outside, cutting underneath Conor Murphy. Can he make this work? Not quite. Down the bottom of the hill, double right-hander into the back straight, trying to get the slipstream, trying to get himself underneath Conor Murphy, and in the background you see Marty Moore and Adam Dowling fighting for 5th place. And is that the leaders trying to come through as well? That's Keith and Niall Quinn trying to come through this battle as well. So 2 battles for the lead in one shot. Niall Quinn trying to come around the outside of Keith Dempsey, but now this is the battle for 2nd in GT3 that he's got to make his way through. Niall trying to follow as well. So here comes Ronan Haydeman trying to come around the outside for 2nd place in GT3. Can't quite make it work, trying to get the cut underneath as well. And there's your leaders of Keith Dempsey and Niall Quinn trying to make their way through as well. So this is going to be an interesting one. In comes Conor Murphy, so that solves a bit of an issue for the leaders there. And it looks like that is Chris Bays carrying, well, he's coming to the pit lane as well, so Ronan Haydeman carries on and momentarily takes the lead of GT3. So Keith and Niall managed to negotiate that very, very well. That was a very hairy moment to get through, but they've managed to come through. It looks like Keith's opening up the gap in the end, and we're nearly halfway through this race. So Keith from Niall, from Colin Bays, Jonathan McCarthy 4th, Nicky Meredith 5th, and now Brian McManus has just overtaken. They're battling it out here as Brian and Stephen Joyce going at it down the bottom of the hill. Brian McManus with a great move around the outside there. Great stuff from Brian to hang on to that place right there. So Brian McManus into 6th place now, and just 2 seconds back from these guys is Brad O'Neans. So he could be on for a good result here as well. So down the back of the circuit, that tricky dropping away left-hander underneath the bridge. Brian McManus into 6th, Stephen Joyce is now 7th. Sergey is 9th, Brad O'Neans 8th, and Tony Stack having a good run in 10th. There he is in that black BMW, just a fleeting shot of him. Ronan Haydeman now leads GT3 after Chris Bays took his stop. Adam Dowling and Marty Moore are your top 3 also in that class. But of course, we can't keep our eyes away from Keith Dempsey and Niall Quinn. Who's going to be the first to blink in the pit stop? Is Niall maybe going to try and get an undercut on him? Come in early, get the fuel in, and try and get a set of great outlap to try and negate the gain from Keith Dempsey. Going to be an interesting one. Of course, Niall always been very, very quick in the pit stop, so he might make that work to his advantage this time around. He obviously wants to close the gap in the championship as much as he possibly can. 170 points Keith Dempsey is on, and his next rival is on 118. Chris Bays, just after taking his stop, Ronan Haydeman is into the pits, and he's on his way out now, so he drops to 6th in GT3. But it is Chris now still 3rd, 22 seconds away from the now on track leader Adam Dowling of GT3, and Nathan Healy has just come into the pits for his stop. So all the pit stops are starting to happen now, but the 2 leaders have still yet to stop. So Niall has dropped to 7/10 of a second behind. 24 minutes gone, so 20 minutes left in this race. Who is going to be the first to blink? Is it going to be Niall Quinn? He's dropped to nearly 8/10 of a second behind now, so still no sign of him coming in. Maybe just dropping back to maybe conserve the tyres, conserve the fuel. He's been attacking for 25 minutes of this race, and maybe just now going to go into conservation mode and look after his car for a little while. So let's keep an eye on this battle as well. Sergio's dropped a little ways off. He's dropped behind Tony Stack now, so Sergio's had an off somewhere. You can see the damage on the front. So Tony Stack is ahead of him now, and Tony's right on the back of Brad, who is trying to chase after Stephen Joyce. Brad McManus 6th. And how is Chris Bays? He's Stefanis Janssen. So this is the battle in GT3. So this will be for position. Stefanis Janssen with Connor Murphy right behind him, trying to look up the inside of turn 1. Brave move from Connor Murphy, straight through, no prisoners taken. Connor Murphy up to 3rd in GT3, yeah, and that is one of the GTE classes. It looks like Evan Walsh, I think, trying to come through in the background. But Stefanis Janssen still yet to make a stop. He's trying to come back at Connor here. Connor covers that off, and now Evan Walsh up the inside, trying to take that back, trying to make his way through as clean as possibly can, and easily done from Evan there. So Connor Murphy is now 3rd. Chris Bays is 6 seconds up the road, and he is the net leader of GT3. And it's just to say that Connor Murphy, has he lost and spun the car? No, he hasn't. There was contact with Evan Walsh as they went through there, and a spin for Stefanis Janssen in the back, and then Garis Razanowski has to avoid, and Janssen gets himself way off the road there. Had to get himself off the track there in a very, very quick manner. Does so very, very well. The driver managed to avoid it, so he carries on. But unfortunately, that drops him down the order. There is Olivier Van Herk trying to come through as well. So a scary moment for some of those drivers there, but they managed to come through unscathed. There was contact with Connor Murphy. Now, he's managed to come through unscathed. There's a little bit of a battle going between himself and Evan Walsh, as Evan tried to muscle his way through, but he's managed to hold on for now. The leaders have not yet come in, but the battle we need to keep an eye on now is the battle for 3rd place. Jonathan McCarthy on the back of Colin Bays for 3rd place. Now, he's been lapping solidly very, very well, and he's now closing up to the back of the 3rd place man very, very quickly. Nicky Meredith has dropped back because of the damage he's suffered. So can Jonathan McCarthy make a move here? On board with the Porsche, you can just see the speed right here, up to 6th gear as they run down the back of the circuit here. You just see everything is almost blind. You cannot see the next sequence of corners until you're on top of them. Through this long double right-hander into a quick left in the last corner. Quick chicane down to 3rd gear, trying to follow Colin up ahead. One of the GT3 cars maybe going to hinder them a little bit there, but just caught them in the perfect place, and he's going to move out of the way for them there. Through the first corner, you can just see tight to the right-hand side, using all of the curb. Then uphill, just say Colin's run off the road there, so here comes Jonathan McCarthy for 3rd place. Can he make a move here? Colin holds the inside line for that corner. Manages to hold on for now, but he's under severe pressure now from Jonathan McCarthy. In the background as well, Nicky Meredith's closed up just a small bit, and looks like there's a problem for Stephen Joyce behind. He's dropping down the field. He's had such a good run, and yeah, there he is. He spun the car, unfortunately. So Stephen Joyce drops out of contention after having a great run earlier on, fighting for a top 5 place. He's dropped behind. But it is, yes, Jonathan McCarthy fighting for 3rd place after starting. He's up 7 positions where he started. Evan Walsh having a good run as well. He's up to 9th, so he's inside the top 10. But the debutant, can he make a stamp on VRA? Can he get himself a debut podium, which would be great to see? Trying to sweep around the outside of Colin Bays. Brave move if he can make this one. So he'll have the inside line for the next corner. Late on the brakes. Can he make it work? Up the inside. He'll have the outside line for the next corner. But anyway, Colin Bays comes into the pit lane. So Jonathan McCarthy will take 3rd anyway. But Colin is the first of the leaders, per se, to make his pit stop. Brian McManus also in as well. So we're into the pit stop phase now. And that was one of the Audis coming out of the pit lane there as well. So Jonathan is up to 3rd. Nicky Meredith 4th. Brad is now 5th, and Tony Stack is 6th. So where is Colin going to come out? So there is your pit stop. Stephen Joyce, he's into the pits as well with damage, which is a shame. Out comes Colin Bays. So where is he going to come out relative to everybody else? He's right at the end of the pit lane, so very short pit exit and a very tricky pit exit. Walls either side of you to hit. He comes out just behind Evan Walsh in 8th place. So now we're going to keep an eye on our leaders, because that gap has gone up to a second, 1.2 seconds almost. So has Keith just been conserving his tyres all along? How is he getting on with his wear? How is he getting on with fuel? He's going to stay out for another lap. Niall Quinn also stays out, and I thought Rob O'Neill wasn't running, but he actually is in the Z4 at the back. Bit of damage running on it, but he's still running around. Niall Murray's still running around, so I think every driver is still running in this race. The gap has gone up to 1.3, so 0.3 of a second between them on the last lap. Oh, there's Robin Neal spinning around just in front of the guys right there. He should be able to get that car running again. But a bit of a shame, but he's still running. Brad O'Neill's into the pit lane for his stop. He comes in from 5th place. So Tony Stack takes 5th. So his battle really is with Razanauskas and Colin Bays and Evan Walsh. So he needs to get himself out ideally in front of that battle. So we'll see how quick this stop is for Brad. Should be just for fuel. Maybe he's been minding his tyres. So it should be a quick stop for Brad here. Drops just down between himself and Sergey. So he's battling with Sergey really. So coming out of the pit lane now, Evan Walsh is in. Out comes Brad. And Sergey's just up the road a little bit there. He's going to come out just ahead of Stefan. That is Ronan Haderman, who's running in the GT3 class, but has come out in front of Sergey. So he's come out in 12th place. That should be a net P6, P7 for Brad. So not a bad job in there for him. Olivier Van Herk running off the road right there. Gets himself back on the circuit. He's in the middle of that GT3 battle that's going on right there. This is Conor Murphy with Brian McManus up ahead of him. And Brian looks like he's struggling for pace a little bit now. He's getting caught by the GT3s. Marty Moore is now 3rd in GT3 ahead of Ronan Haderman and Adam Dowling. So all those guys have made their stops, but Chris Bay is dominating 11.2 seconds out front. Nicky Meredith in from 4th place in this race. Gonna watch where he comes out. Number 95, running so well earlier on, challenging for the lead, but he's had a spin or two, which has cost him dearly. Very quick stop. So where is he going to come out? He's going to come out just behind the GT3 leader. He's going to come out right with Edgars Razanauskas. Can he get out ahead of him? There's going to be contact there. Are they going to be able to hold on to that? Well saved. Not quite. Nicky Meredith trying to hold the car together on the grass. Keeps it straight. Keeps his foot in it. And they managed to hold it together. But unfortunately, it looks like Razanauskas is unfortunately in the tire. No, he isn't. He's managed to carry it on. How they've kept that together, I don't know. But just a little bit of contact. You can just see how tricky that pit exit is. But Niall Quinn in from 2nd. He's going for the undercut on Keith Dempsey. So what can he do? Can Keith... It's got to be a fantastic outlet from Niall Quinn to try and jump Keith Dempsey in the stop. This is a crucial phase of the race right now. So how quick is the stop for Niall Quinn? Jonathan McCarthy's 2nd now. Tony Stack will now be 4th. Quick stop from Niall Quinn. Out he comes, lighting up the rear tyres. And out he comes. Where is he going to come out now? Hopefully in some clean air. And he just comes out in the middle between 2 GT3 cars. Comes out in 3rd place. So he's still on for a podium either way. Flashing lights. He needs to know, get out of my way. I'm trying to chase after Keith here. So he's come out right in the middle of a GT3 field here, which is not ideal for him. So Keith's also got to be pushing hard now. Don't count out this man either. 2nd place, Jonathan McCarthy. Now, his battle is really with Tony Stack and all those guys behind. But Keith has got to respond on this lap. So he's out near the bottom of the circuit now. Is he going to come in? Yes, he does. So Keith Dempsey in from the lead. We've got to be watching that gap between himself and Niall Quinn. It's going to be neck and neck on the pit exit, is what I'm predicting. So Jonathan McCarthy, he will be just coming down to that section as well, with Niall Quinn just about 10 seconds behind that. He's right there. So the crucial gap, of course, Keith Dempsey pulled into his pit box. How quick is this stop? Has he managed to jump Niall Quinn? A tense wait. Jonathan McCarthy takes the lead of the race. We're watching for the pit exit. Out comes Dempsey. Where is Quinn? He's about to come through turn 1. Watch for that BMW. There he is on the outside line. It's going to be really tight, but it's actually not. He's managed to jump him ahead, so Keith Dempsey still leads, and he's managed to gain time in the pit stops right there. So Keith Dempsey manages to hold on. His pit stops was perfect that time, and he comes out ahead of Niall Quinn by nearly 2 seconds. So you can just see the GT3 traffic has cost Niall Quinn that time around. He's now Keith's got to negotiate one of the GT3s here to lap him, but Jonathan McCarthy now can say he led a VRA race. So he's out front, but he's got 6.5 seconds behind. So he's going to drop right into that midfield battle between Thomas Series, Mark Henkovic, Tony Stack, Nicky Meredith. Here comes Jonathan McCarthy just lapping one of the GT3s, but you can just see how close this battle right here is between Mark Henkovic, the debutant, Tony Stack and Nicky Meredith right in there, Brian McManus as well. So this is the battle for 5th. Thomas Series as well has come from nowhere really to 5th, so a great drive from him as well. He's fighting for 3rd in the championship, so he stopped earlier on. So he's managed to get that together with Mark Henkeve's big oversteer moment on the exit, holds it together. And up ahead you just see Chris Bayes just getting through one of the GT3 cars as well. But now this is really stacking up in the midfield here. This is the battle for 6th place. Mark Henkevis, Tony Stack, Nicky Meredith, Brian McManus. Also Olivier Van Herk, you might just catch a flash of him. And Sergey grabbing with Brandon Ian. Up the inside comes Nicky Meredith, trying to catch him off guard there. Not quite going to be able to make it work. So Nicky Meredith finding some pace. Obviously repaired the damage in the stops as well. So now looking to redeem himself a little bit here. 10 minutes left to go in this race. And one of the GT3 cars getting out of the way of this humongous midfield battle here. Exactly what we want to see. But one of the brand new drivers has got a storm behind him. He's got Tony Stack and Nicky Meredith, Brian McManus and Olivier Van Herk. Very experienced guys. And he's got to hold them behind here. So it's a really, really tough job. He's managed to gap them a little bit that time around. And Nicky Meredith looking really, really racy behind Tony Stack right there, trying to find a gap. There's contact made. And has he managed to keep himself there? But he's managed to drop. Has he dropped out? Nicky Meredith's dropped out. So that contact has sent him over the limit. And he's now, unfortunately, out of this race. Nicky Meredith is the first GTE retirement from this race as far as I can see. Unless something has mistaken there. But no, it hasn't. So, unfortunately, Nicky Meredith is out of this race. But Keith Dempsey still leads. Niall Quinn is still sticking himself right in there. But we've got to keep an eye on Jonathan McCarthy, who's into the pits now. And it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out of all this. Out he comes on the pit exit. So where he's going to be fighting with Colin Bays. He looks like he's going to come out in 3rd place actually. Jonathan McCarthy, what a performance. 3rd place. Comes out just in the battle of GT3 right there. Comes out ahead of Ronan Hayden. Fantastic drive from Jonathan McCarthy. 3rd place. He's on for a podium in his first race in the VRA GT Pro Championship. Awesome drive so far. But just to keep it updated on GT3, Chris Bays leads from Conor Murphy in 2nd. This is really spread out now. So Marty Moore is 3rd. Adam Dowling is 4th. Nathan Healy, then Stefanis Jensen. Ronan Haydeman's dropped to 7th. So whatever's happened to him, he's dropped behind Stefanis Jensen. Eddie Conley, Jean Montero is there. Jonas Ferravicius is there. Razanauskas is not running. Damien McMullen is still running around there. Fair play to him. His first race in the GT Pro Championship as well. So running around in the GT3 class in the 2nd of the Audi R8s. But not long left to go now. Just 8 minutes left to run. And the gap in front, 1.1 seconds. And Niall Quinn slightly quicker on that lap. So Niall's got to push now. He's really got to push to try and catch up to Keith. But Keith is in full control of this race at this point. He's managed to hold off humongous pressure from Niall behind. It doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. So Niall's got to pull off something special here. But Thomas Series has come from, as I said, pretty much nowhere to 5th. He had a poor run earlier on. And Mark Henkevis manages to keep himself in a gap right there, just ahead of Tony Stack. And Brian McManus with Olivier Van Herk right behind. Brad O'Neans also has dropped back out of this battle. Actually, he was right in the middle of it. But it is Brian McManus in the middle of this fight between Tony Stack and Olivier Van Herk. And Olivier is right in the top 5 in the championship as well. So he's still on for scoring consistent points here, which is exactly what you need to do. And obviously don't forget the Gentleman's Championship and the Forever Forward Championship, so the person who gains the most positions overall. We just saw something going on there for Chris Bays, our GT3 leader. Looks like he's still carrying on unscathed, but I'm going to go back to this battle right here because Brian closed right up underneath Tony Stack's rear wing that time in the braking zone. And keeping updated up front, the gap's coming down. It's just under a second now. It's dropped under the 1 second barrier. So are we going to have a last lap battle between Dempsey and Quinn? It's going to be awesome to see whether that transpires. But not long left to go now. 7 minutes left to run. And the gap up front, 9/10 of a second. We're going to keep an eye on this battle for now, which is Tony Stack versus Brian McManus for 7th place in this race. Good result for either of the drivers. Don't think they'd mind. It is good result for Tony Stack so far, up 6 positions where he started, as well as Olivier. So good drive from these guys. The gap front is going between 9/10 of a second and 1.1, so it's going up and down, But it's going to be a hell of a drive from Niall Quinn if he can close that gap up. And Chris Bays is in. So has he got damage? Our GT3 leader is out of the pit lane and he's come out behind Conor Murphy. So we're going to have a battle for the GT3 lead coming up to the end of this race, but there's now Conor Murphy is your new GT3 leader as we go into the last 5 minutes of this race. So Chris Bayes has got to fight for this win now. So could it be the first win for Conor Murphy, or will it be 2 from 2 for Chris Bayes in the GT3 class? Interesting to watch. Keith Dempsey faster than Niall Quinn on that lap, so the gap is opening up a little bit. But all it'll take is one mistake from Dempsey and Niall Quinn will be all over him. So it's going to be interesting to watch. We're going to keep an eye on this battle for the GT3 lead as well. It's plenty to keep your eyes on. Jonathan McCarthy and Colin Bayes cemented in 3rd and 4th at the moment. Thomas Series 5th, Valentinas Markenkovic is 6th, Tony Stack, Brian McManus, Olivier Van Hert, Brandon Eanes, Sergey Graben, James Dowling is up to 12th, Evan Walsh, Pekka Vicious, Stefan Kvistgaard are your GTE cars that are still running around. But now the GT3 battle is heating up for the lead, as well as the net race lead, but that gap has gone up to 1.5 now, so obviously a poor run from Niall Quinn through that last corner has cost him a little bit. Trying to maybe lap that car just behind him, one of the BMWs, but it's opened up to 1.5 seconds now, so barring a mistake from Keith, it looks like it's going to be. But now we're going to go back to the battle for the GT3 lead, with Chris Bayes now trying to get up underneath Conor Murphy for the GT3 race lead. Just came in for a pit stop right there, now to the outside line. Conor Murphy trying to hold himself in the race lead at this point. Now Chris trying to get underneath him here. Textbook move from Chris Bayes to the outside line for this next part of the circuit right now. Flipping through the long left-hander, dropping downhill, and it'll be Conor Murphy who holds on for now. But now we're going to go on to the back straight, into the compression, up the inside. He's all over the back of him as they run down the back straight. He's already alongside. It should be an easy move for Chris Bayes, but Conor's not making this easy for him. He really wants a race win, does Conor Murphy, and he's going to make life very difficult for Chris Bayes here. But he does have the inside line for the next corner, and Chris is ahead. But don't count Conor Murphy's out just yet. He will try and hold on, but Chris is ahead. He moves to the inside line, does Conor Murphy. Tries to stick it up the inside as it runs to the right-hander, but Chris is ahead and retakes the lead in the GT3. And he has been the class of the field, really, so far this race. Even with 2 pit stops, he's managed to retake the race lead, and he holds on, and he's going to go, well, what he hopes, 2 from 2 in the GT3 races. Back to the front, 1.3 seconds is the gap. Niall Quinn, he's thrown everything at him really, but he's not been quite able to do it. Now what has happened to Valentinas? He's been driving so well. Off the road he goes, and look at this midfield battle we got going on between Tony Stack, Brian McManus. They're almost 3 at best. One of Stefanis Jensen moving out of the way, but Tony Stack now 6th with Brian McManus right up behind him. Olivier Van Hert as well. So this is now the battle for 6th place. Unfortunately, Markenkovic has dropped back after a little mistake there, but now Brian, does he have a sniff at 6th place? Trying to look at the inside of Tony Stack. Tony driving a great race today in that BMW, so well done to him. He'll be on for a great result nonetheless. But Olivier Van Hert right in that battle as well, in that Belgian liveried Porsche. So fantastic race so far. Now one of the Audi's going to get in the way right there, flashing his lights. Tony Stack trying to just let him know he's there. He's going to get caught right up on the apex. That's not great from Tony Stack. He caught him just in the wrong place there. Here comes Olivier Van Hert up the inside, trying to make himself an opportunity there. Up the inside of Brian McManus. Can he make that work? He's still alongside. Going to keep an eye on that Porsche. Very, very racy is the Belgian. Trying to look up the inside of Brian McManus, but Brian holds on for now. This is the midfield battle, might I remind you as well. This is brilliant stuff. Brian goes a little touch wide there. This might open the opportunity for Olivier Van Hert to make his way through. And just in the background, you just see Marty Moore. That's a battle for GT3 between Jensen and a couple of other guys right there. Jensen, Marty Moore, and Eddie Connolly are battling in the background. You just see Marty Moore trying to make the move on Jensen in the back. Little gap opened up between Tony Stack and Brian McManus that time around. Something's happened to Sergey. Oh, that's big damage from Sergey, but he's been backwards into the wall right there. Evan Walsh goes through to 12th. Sergey, unfortunately, this might be his worst race of the year so far. Backwards into the wall, not ideal in these cars really. So broken rear wing. But back to this battle: Olivier Van Hert versus Brian McManus versus Tony Stack. The gap up front is settling at 1.3, so I don't think we're going to quite see the battle that we really wanted to see between Keith and Niall. But they're always so evenly matched. 2 of the very, very best in their class. So Tony Stack versus Brian McManus versus Olivier Van Hert. Who's going to come out on top right here? Thomas Series is 6 seconds up the road from these guys. He's recovered very, very well from earlier in this race. He dropped down the field earlier on with an early pit stop. But he's managed to recover, and we only have about 30 seconds left of this race. So just going to check where Keith Dempsey is on the circuit. So he's coming to the last corner. So this will be the last lap they're beginning now. for Keith Dempsey, so it's one more opportunity really for Niall Quinn. He needs Keith Dempsey to make a mistake. And it's not very often that Keith makes a mistake. So he's got to lap Evan Walsh very shortly up ahead. Niall, as you can see, quicker that lap, but it's just not enough. It's too little too late at this point. It'll be the last lap for all these guys behind, so this battle needs to be sorted before the end of the lap as well. And it's going to be interesting to see whether Brian can make his way past Tony Stackhill. There's going to be an opportunity here. He's going to lap the GT3s, and he's going to get right up underneath here. So, trying to look up the inside, going to get caught right there. Trying to look up the inside. Here comes Brian McManus on Tony Stack. He's going to take that move on the last corner as they begin the last lap here, and he takes it away. Olivier Van Herk looking for the move as well, but he's unable to just quite make that work there. So Brian McManus is through into 6th place, and just up to the front, Keith Dempsey is on the back of the circuit now. He's following Evan Walsh as they run through the last couple of corners here. Keith, he's led every single lap. He's absorbed immense pressure from Niall Quinn, and he's going to extend his championship lead. Through the last corner he comes, on the brakes, through the right-hander. Keith Dempsey wins round 5 of the VRA GT Pro Championship. Fantastic drive. He really deserved that today. Niall Quinn put up a valiant fight, but great job from Niall as well. Jonathan McCarthy, almost drive of the day for me. Coming through the last corner, debut race, debut podium. Fantastic job, Jonathan McCarthy, through the last corner. 3rd place in his first race. Fantastic job. Colin Bays will take 4th place. Thomas Series, great recovery. He will take P5, and he is 3rd in the championship. Don't forget. So he is fighting for every point. Brian McManus managed to hold on. Olivier Van Herk through the last corner. Can he get up on the inside of Tony Stack? Not quite. So he holds on for now. Chris Bays, he's going to come through. Where is he on the track? He's coming up to the last corner right now. Chris Bays going to take the GT3 win here as well, with Conor Murphy in 2nd. Adam Dowling's already crossed the line to take 3rd. Coming through the last sequence of corners comes Chris Bays, and 2 wins from 2 GT3 rounds. Dominant performance through the right-hander. Chris Bays, GT3 winner in Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, and Conor Murphy will cross the line for 2nd place as well. Great drive. He really tried to hold on for that race win, but it just didn't come his way. Evan Walsh crossing the line there to complete his race as well. But Keith Dempsey, is he beatable is the question. Niall Quinn threw absolutely everything he could at him, just wasn't enough, and Keith did everything he could. So let's have a quick look. There is your official race rundown. Keith Dempsey wins from Niall Quinn by 1.2 seconds. Jonathan McCarthy 3rd, Colin Bays 4th, Thomas Series in 5th. Brian McManus just managed to get ahead of Tony Stack in 6th, Tony Stack 7th. Olivier Van Herk 8th, Valentinas Markenkova's debut race finishes 9th, and Brad Leans will finish 10th. James Dowling, Evan Walsh, Sergei Graham, Linus Pekovicis, and Stefan Kvistgaard in 15th. And you just see the top 3 in GT3: Chris Bays, Conor Murphy, and Adam Dowling. So a great race today for round 5 of the VRA GT Pro Championship from Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Been a pleasure, and my sabbatical really didn't last long. I was supposed to not be here this week.
Yeah, just a big shout out, it's not here. So another epic race. Unfortunately, we have Leo here as well as in the background, but I think Jack was just doing such a great job there. We got carried away. We were enjoying it more than anything. So again, an absolutely impressive. What can you say? Keith Dempsey again, Niall Quinn. They did put on quite the show. Unfortunately, it looked like Nicky was in the run for it there, but fell prey. Just talk us through that incident thing. So if you get 17 off tracks or incidents, once you go to 18, you're kind of
you're gone. Yeah,
you're gone out of the track. So that's unfortunately what we look like. Just running down through some of the other non-finishers. Lyle Murray was obviously in the race, but had issues at the start. Can't think who else was kind of down the bottom of the grid, but great turnout. Over 33 cars in the grid.
Yeah,
mixed classes working from what I can see.
Yeah.
GT, GT3s. So that is kind of it for today. I'm going to try my championship table. It didn't work. We're going to hopefully have this for the next race. We worked hard on it today, Jack, but it didn't get there in the end.
Didn't quite get it.
So there you have it, your race results. Join us in 2 weeks' time, back for our next round of iRacing here live on VRA. Thanks for everyone for joining in and joining us tonight. And of course, thanks to Jack for doing such an epic job. It's always great to have you back here, Jack. So we'll tune in 2 weeks' time.
2 weeks.